Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that you guys were talking about in the comments, how to know that an avoidant, how they behave. How do avoidants behave when they know that they kind of messed up, but not in a way where it's like entirely detrimental, right? We talked about before on this channel how to know that they're guilty or they feel really bad that they hurt you. Right. And this is similar, but I would say it's on a more smaller vein where it's more little things like maybe they said something that was annoying or they didn't answer the text message as quick as maybe you wanted or they forgot something that you said, right? Something along those lines. Because I think this is also important as well because some avoidants, they don't need it to take to the point where you're completely miserable or you're hurt or you're about to leave for them to actually notice. Some of them are like this. And that's why I made this video today. A lot of avoidants still take a little bit longer than maybe an anxious preoccupied to notice this stuff. Or fearful leaning anxious, but fearful leaning dismissive or dismissive avoidance, they take a little bit longer, but that doesn't mean it's always to the point where you're about to walk out the door for them to realize, hey, I need to adjust myself. So that's what we're talking about today. And the very first one is actually that after whatever the event was, they actually become a little bit extra nice. It's not in a manipulative way. It just means that they do feel bad and they're hoping that they can make you not mad at them and kind of in an indirect way show you that they're willing to get better. And often what happens is they become extra nice in particular to the thing that you were talking about. So let's say, for example, they forgot to respond to a message, and that's something that you just don't like. For whatever reason in your relationship, you guys have agreed that's not really something you want to do often. And it's something that they really improved on, but they messed up. And so you felt upset about it. Maybe you brought it up and said, hey, I know you didn't mean it like that, but last night I texted you something I felt was kind of important and you did not reply. And then later you replied and said, I'm sorry, I saw this, but I was caught up in something. And so I just felt a little bit upset because I wish you were a little bit more prompt with your response. You took hours and I know you weren't doing anything. I know you were just home. And maybe that's what you said. And they might, say, you know what, you're right. I agree with that. And then afterwards you might see them be extra nice. They might be unusually sweet. They might be offering to help you with things. And that's one of the first signs. But another one is, especially with this texting example, but in general, they might check in a little bit more often, right? They may text you a bit more frequently. They may ask you how your day was. And why they're doing this, it is genuine, but a lot of it is not just that they're trying to say, hey, I'm changing. Yes, that's true, but they're also trying to check if you're upset. They're checking the temperature for your mood. They want reassurance to make sure the relationship is still good, it's still stable. Obviously, it's because they care about you. Sometimes what happens with avoidance is if it's small things, in their mind it's small. I'm not saying it is small, and they feel like it still bothers them saying directly, I'm sorry, proves how invested they are in the relationship, right? An example that I see a lot in session that avoidants end up slowly admitting is, let's say, for example, there's a text exchange. And let's say we have a husband and a wife, and the husband is dismissive avoidant because that's typically what it is in therapy. It's not always the case, right? But this is a common setting in therapy. Maybe, he went out to go do something or in some errands or something. And she said, could you please remember to pick this up at the store? Okay. And maybe the text exchange was, he says, hey, I'm 5 minutes away. I'm coming back home. And she says, did you remember to pick up the eggs? And he says, oh, I forgot. Do you want me to go back and pick it up? And maybe she read it and she left it on read, not because she's trying to like get under his skin, because she's trying to calm her own self down and think, how do I respond? Because I already reminded him a couple times and he still forgot. And he can see the red receipt underneath. And so sometimes what I see them admit is they feel like uncomfortable or like concerned because they kind of know, okay, I did mess up. And often what they admit they do is when they feel that way, instead of directly apologizing, they might check in a little bit more often afterwards. Or what they do is they might immediately respond to their own text to some extent, or like double or triple text, whatever it is, and say, well, actually, I can go back and get it. It will only take a little bit. I might be a little late, but I'm going to go and get the eggs or butter or whatever it was. And so that was before you responded because they saw the red receipt was on. I'm not saying to do that, but I see this dynamic happen a lot, and avoidance might admit like, yeah, I don't want to admit it, but this is some stuff that makes me really concerned that she's upset with me or she's mad at me or I know I messed up and I can tell by her mood, I can feel it, right? And so they might say something along those lines. So they might check in a little bit more after that as well. Things of that nature. They might text you more often, talk to you more often, sit next to you and just ask you how you're doing. The next one is that they actually might give you more space. This is not because they're pulling back because they don't care. It's often because I don't want to make it worse, right? They're thinking, I don't want to make it worse. He or she probably needs some space from me, and I know that I've been annoying recently. Let me give them a little bit of space. The next one is sometimes they might use humor to break the tension. And there is research that this does work with some couples, but it depends. They might act more playful. They might try to get you to smile. That's usually the goal. They want you to smile because they feel like it resets the temperature of the relationship and you're not going to be as mad at them, or you might see them in a more happy light. A lot of times avoidance may do that. I have some patients where it's like, I remember just seeing this recently where let's say the male, let's say he's anxious, preoccupied. It's just an example, but I've seen this before. He's like getting really kind of worked up, anxious about something, and he's trying not to because he's like, you know what, she's not going to listen. What's the point? And you can kind of see him feel this way. Let's say he's fearful, avoidant, or anxious, right? And he's trying not to be anxious or crash out. And so you're seeing that in session. And then let's say his wife is sitting there. Let's say she's fearful, avoidant, or she's dismissive. She knows that he's kind of upset, and she knows that what he's saying is valid. Like, she doesn't listen to everything he says. So she might like playfully, like, I don't know, like put her hand under his chin or like playfully touch his shoulder just to like make him feel like trying to smile. So it might not always be a joke, but it might be some sort of playful touching. It doesn't mean that they are hurt, but they don't know what to do about it because they're still working on their own healing journey, and they don't want you. They feel bad that they put you under so much pressure. So sometimes you might see that as well. The next one is they might bring it up indirectly. Are you okay? Are you sure everything is fine? They might say something like, I feel like I kind of messed up, right? So they're trying to, it's almost like they're fishing for a chance to talk and apologize. But they don't want to apologize like randomly because they feel like it might set you off. And so, not saying that it would, but that's kind of their feeling. And so that's why they're kind of like trying to bring it up indirectly to see if it's okay. And the next one is they might apologize. It might be direct or indirect. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Direct would be, I'm sorry. Indirect would be, I'm sorry if that bothered you, which a lot of people don't like. They might say, I feel bad about earlier. That one's really common. I feel bad about earlier. I didn't mean it like that. Or sometimes I might say, I'm really sorry. I don't want you to hold this against me. I'm trying, right? So it's like they are sorry and they made a mistake, but they really don't want it to like destroy the relationship, right? And the next one is they might actually remember small details after, especially about what you guys argued about. Let's say it was a text thing. They might be more attentive to what you say. They might be much more prompt to answering text messages because they're trying harder to not repeat the mistake. And often they might fall off a little bit, but overall, they're going to make some improvement. And the last one is they're more physically affectionate. They're trying to show you that they still care and they don't want you mad. That's the best way to do it. Cuddling, kissing, holding hands, hugging you longer. That's a really common one. Those type of things are how avoidants behave when they know they messed up, where it doesn't have to be that it was so detrimental that you're about to break up. So let's summarize. They become extra nice. They check in more than usual. They give you space. They try to use humor or try to make you smile to break the tension. They bring it up indirectly. They actually apologize, whether it's direct or indirect. They remember small details, and they show more physical affection. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.